Hello YouTube, today I'm going to bring you a quick video on combat rogues from 5.2. I'll include what talents I take, glyphs I take, my reforging and gemming, and my rotation. Hope you enjoy it. So first let's talk talents. First slot I'd recommend taking Shadow Focus. It's been nerfed from 100% to 75%, but any reduction spells are good for you. So secondly, I'd go with combat readiness. These two are more PvP focused. I mean, you could take Deadly Throw if you really wanted to, but it's a slow really for PvP. So I'd take combat readiness for the extra survivability. Again, with the survivability, go for cheat death. It's going to help with healers out. Obviously, you're not going to be dying during raid bosses, and it gives you a 80% reduced damage for 3 seconds when you're at 10% health, so you can more easily be healed up and there's more chance of you being healed up and not dying. Leeching Poison and Elusiveness. Elusiveness costs energy and it's only a 30% reduction, so I don't see anyone using that particularly. And Leeching Poison, it doesn't... It heals for a tiny weeny bit. Even if you're doing a lot of damage, it still doesn't heal that much, so I would definitely take Cheat Death. And another reason I would take Cheat Death over Leeching Poison is because I also use Paralytic Poison, but I'll explain that in a minute. Cloak and Dagger is what I've taken here. Any of these three are good. I mean, they're not really going to increase your damage particularly, but it's down to your personal preference. I mean, when you're switching between different bosses and mobs and etc., adds, whatever. I mean, I just went for Cloak and Dagger because I just did. There's no particular right choice in this one. I wouldn't go with Dirty Chicks because that's more PvP focus again. You've got a choice between Paralytic Poison and Prey on a Weak. In terms of benefits your raid group, I think Paralytic Poison is a better take. It's not necessarily going to stun bosses, but for obviously when you're taking trash, it's going to give you a couple of stuns there, helping crowd control and less healing work for your healers, less damage for your tanks. Prey on a Weak, yes, it gives you a 10% increased damage from all sources, which helps increase damage from your entire raid, but it only works when used Kidney Shot, Cheap Shot, Gouge, Sap or Blinds. Now, I open with Gouge, and you know, I use it once in an encounter, so I don't think it's going to be particularly. I mean, it's up to you which one you think is more beneficial. Anticipation, I would definitely recommend taking here. When you're using your cooldowns, you are going to be losing combo points all over the place, and these combo points are precious. You know, they cost energy, so you want to get the most use out of them as possible. I would take Anticipation. Shuriken Toss is another good take, depending on, for some certain bosses you may need to use it, but I prefer Anticipation myself. Mark for Death sounds brilliant, but I think you're going to benefit more from Anticipation than Mark for Death, because yes, 5 combo points instantly would be useful in some cases. It's got a 1 minute cooldown, but an instant cooldown if the target dies within a minute. It's not going to be happening on a boss, but it's up to you what you take. I mean, any of these are a good take, but I think the best personally is Anticipation. Glyphs now. Some of these are a must. Adrenaline Rush is a must. Means you can spam your abilities more, do a bit more damage. Glyph of Deadly Momentum I like to take. Two ones you could choose between are Glyph of Deadly Momentum and Blade Flurry. Blade Flurry is a bit, goes towards a bit more crowd control. Obviously you'll get more stuns with 30% higher chance of applying non-lethal poison if you're using Paralytic Poison. Glyph of Deadly Momentum, it refreshes your Slice and Dice, so when you're downing trash you don't have to refresh your Slice and Dice yourself. It will refresh as the trash goes down. Another must, if you are going to be an interrupter in help your raid team out, I would take Glyph of Kick because it reduces the cooldown of your kick ability. You have to make sure, however, you do land a kick because otherwise it will not reset. It will have its normal reset time, which is 19 seconds, so that's a good one. I like Glyph of Killing Spree personally. It means that you don't end up, a couple of yards out of where you started with it, so you know where you're going to land when you come out of it. Glyph of Blur Speed is not really useful at all. Glyph of Safeful might be useful in some cases. Glyph of Safeful and Glyph of Killing Spree are a good take for me. Tricks of the Trade, this is optional. You want to keep your Tricks of the Trade up, obviously, because then you're transferring Honor. Sorry, not Honor. You're transferring Threat to the tank, but if you don't take the Glyph, it gives the tank an extra 15% damage. Now, I like to be kind to my tank and give him a bit of extra damage, and it's 15 energy, I know, but I decided to keep that on. So, what should we stack? Well, the obvious one is Haste. Haste increases your attack speed and energy regeneration. That is only good. You want as much energy regeneration as you can, so you can use as much energy as you can to get as many abilities off and as much damage as possible. I strongly recommend reforging into Haste, bearing in mind that you need to reforge into Hit and Expertise first. Make sure you get these both at 7.5%. Or as close to as possible. After you've gone into Haste, then I would say go Mastery and then Crit. But Haste as much as you possibly can. So, rotation now. Rogue's rotation hasn't really changed a lot. It is still the same as it used to be in Cataclysm and sort of similar to what it used to be in Wrath. So my rotation, I start in Stealth, obviously, because it just gives you that little bit of an extra start. Ambush or Garrow, it doesn't really matter, it's down to personal preference. Personally, I'd like to take Garrow. If you're going to take the talent, where is it? Sorry. If you're going to take Prayer in a Week, then obviously use Garrote to open, because it will give you a little bit of extra damage to start with. So I like to open with a Garrote, straight into the Revealing Strike. Now Revealing Strike is very, very important because it increases the effectiveness of your Sinister Strikes by 20%, and it gives the chance... No, sorry. It increases the effectiveness of your finishing moves by 35%, which is a lot, and it gives your Sinister Strikes a chance to increase the amount of combo points taken from it. So when you are just attacking normally, that's 2 combo points possibly, 20% chance of 2 combo points. Obviously you get to your finishing moves quicker. When you're using Shadow Dance, that's 3 combo points, so you are absolutely getting through those finishing moves as quick as possible. So what I like to do is, let's get rid of those to make it more realistic. Start off in Stealth, go for there, quick there, spam Sinister Strike, get a couple points on there, back into Revealing Strike, back into Sinister Strike, Sinister Strike. Then I like to get a Rupture up. If you're using your cooldowns, pop that now. Get the Eviscerates off. And as soon as your Shadow Blades hits 2 seconds, like now, use your Killing Spree. And then back into your Eviscerate. It's down to you. Rupture, I believe, after a bit of experimenting, that Rupture does increase your damage output. Obviously it's a bleed, and it's got chances of crits and etc. like that. So I believe it's important to take it. Obviously you need to keep your Slice and Dice up. It's increased attack speed, and then if you've got spare combo points to use them in Eviscerate. Obviously you need to use them at 5 combo points because it'll be more effective that way. So let's go over that again without me doing it. We go in, with a garrote to open. Get your revealing strike up. When you've got so many combo points, 4 or 5, I might take 5 here. Take your slice and dice up. You need to keep your slice and dice up because obviously if you're using haste you're getting more attacks. Build up your combo points once more. Once you get to 5, take yourself a rupture. Take yourself to 5 again and take eviscerate. If any of these are about to come off, then just refresh them. Yeah. Right. So cooldowns, obviously you have 3 main cooldowns. I've macroed my Shadow Blade, and Adrenaline Rush together because they both have a 3-minute cooldown and they both increase your damage by a lot. Anticipate. Obviously you also have Killing Spree. It's only got a 2-minute cooldown. Keep it separate, don't macro up anything because it is a risky one and sometimes you do not want to use it in a boss because you are all over the place. Okay, you only single targeted at that time, but sometimes when you got more than one target you'll be all over all the targets and you won't know where you are. But because I took the glyph, I'll always, wherever I started, I'll always end up, which is nice. So now going for AoE. Blade Flurry has been nerfed slightly, but it's still effective. You want to have your Blade Flurry on, obviously, if you're going for AoE. Your rotation is exactly the same. Get your Revealing Strike up. Get your Slice and Dice up. But you want to be hitting, instead of Rupture, you're going to replace that with, when we get the combo points, it's going nice and slowly, Crimson Tempest. This is a bleed and it will put it on all of the enemies around you. Obviously that one's a bit far away. Yeah, so it's an AoE bleed basically, so it's gonna increase your damage AoE wise. Obviously use your cooldowns whenever they pop. Make sure you've got your Blade Flurry on. Other important things to note, make sure you keep your Tricks of Trade up. This will help out your tank. It's quite important. If you haven't got a glyph, it also increases damage, so that's a nice gesture for him. Don't forget that if you're using, like me, Paralytic Poison, obviously use Deadly Poison as your first poison, but if you're using Paralytic Poison, your Shiv is also a stun as well. So if you ever need to stun for a bit of crowd control, use your Shiv to get the Paralytic Poison off. Other than that, don't forget to make sure you're using your used trinkets and other enchants like I've got here. I'll show you a quick macro for that in a minute. But yeah, that's your guide to your rotation, so let's go over it again and see how much damage we can pop. Probably not a lot, but let's have a look. So we go in there, Revealing Strike, getting your Slice and Dice up, then go into your cooldowns, get your Rupture up, go there, get an Eviscerate up, keep going with it, use your Killing Spree, get another Eviscerate up, and keep going, and so on. So we popped about 50k DPS there. It's not amazing. I mean, I'm not particularly well geared. I've got a bit of Rainfinder gear, but that's about it really. But obviously as your gear increases, so will your damage. But I don't think 50k is half bad, to be honest. I mean, obviously yes, that is using cooldowns, that is also using no buffs, don't forget, so you would do an increased amount of damage with buffs in raids. So yeah, I'll go over the macros quickly just to help you out, because I have a couple of important macros which are quite helpful to increasing your damage. So the first one I use is my macro that puts my Adrenaline Rush and Shadow Blades together. This is just so you have less buttons to click. obviously, because I like to pop them both at the same time. There's no advantage to popping them one after the other, to be honest. Use them as soon as they become available, and use them together, to be honest, because you will get so much damage when you're using them together. So I think that's quite an important one to use, because it gives you less to click. The only other one I use as combat is... oh no, I use two more, sorry. I use a Tricks of the Trade macro. This just means that you don't have to actually target your tank to cast Tricks of the Trade onto him. So you can be... I can't really show you this because I'm not in a party, but obviously you just click... all you do is click it, and imagine I've got a tank, it will automatically put Tricks of the Trade on him. That's important, obviously, because it's transferring your threat, so you're not taking aggro. Other than that, I also use Sinister Strike. I put a slash start attack in there, so you make sure you're doing your white damage, because obviously that's going to contribute slightly to your DPS. Also, if you know, when I spam Sinister Strike, my gloves got used, because they have a use on them, increasing my agility by 1920. All I've done here is slash use 10, slash use 14, 15. The number means which slot you're using, so I think it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, something, yeah. It's 10. You have to sort of experiment with that a bit, but I've also got 14 and 15 for when I get trinkets on there that need use as well. So yeah, that's quite a good macro to use. It'll increase your damage because you're constantly using your trinket then, getting a bit of extra agility. Why not? It's going to increase your crit chance. So that concludes my guide for combat rogues. I hope that helps you in any way, even if you are an advanced player, and I brought up a couple of points that may have increased your damage slightly. If you've got any comments, please comment, you know, any tips for me to increase my damage. I mean, I don't think there's particularly anything else you can do as a rogue to increase your damage, but if you've got any tips, then let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.